in the comments, in the streets, and on the internet, people are debating and trying to talk a lot about this Jay-Z stuff. And we usually don't continue to speak about cases, but there have been a lot of updates, and we thought that it was worth discussing. And so this is from The Guardian. And we're going to tell y'all first about the update that happened the day after Christmas. That's right, the day after Beyonce Bowl. And then we'll move forward. But we didn't even do introductions.
Dash.
That's it? No AKAs?
That's it.
Okay, and I'm JD, aka He Pods, dirty glasses on today, so also rearview mirror. That being said, this is from The Guardian. Mm-hmm. And it says, judge denies Jay-Z's efforts to dismiss case accusing him of R-word girl, 13 years old. Jane Doe alleges, we know the allegations already, so let's just move forward. So it says, Jay-Z's legal efforts to dismiss a case accusing him of R-word, a 13-year-old girl in 2000, have been denied by a judge in New York, with the judge in the case condemning a lawyer for the hip-hop mogul for aggressive tactics. Jay-Z, whose given name is Sean Carter, has denied the allegations, but the judge in the case uses strong language in attacking his legal team's actions. Quote, Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. Judge Annalisa Torres wrote in the court order. Carter's legal team have been pushing for a dismissal of the R-word claim. Torres said the court, quote, will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Torres separately granted Carter's accuser the ability to pursue her claim anonymously as Jane Doe, despite efforts from the defensive team to have her reveal her identity publicly. The Jane Doe claim, okay, we know where it comes from.
I had to look up what ad hominem means. I did not know what that meant. Did you know?
No, let him know.
It is a type of argument that attacks the person making an argument instead of the argument itself.
Gotcha. Yep, definitely what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to see, is there anything else here that we need to see?
Can I read this real quick?
Sure.
So another piece of the definition is ad hominem fallacies are also known as personal attacks or name calling. They can be used to discredit an opponent, avoid the topic of discussion, or create a diversion. I think that's relevant here.
Absolutely. So it doesn't say it here, but I read the court document. And so basically the trial, the case is moving forward. I did read in the court document itself, which has been released. You know, a lot of this stuff becomes public once you yawn, once the court files it. So I did read the document, and it says that the young lady has to respond to some stuff. And then Jay-Z and his team have until January 17th to respond to her response. And so these things are moving forward and fast. So before we move on, let's just discuss this piece. So what has happened is not that the judge said Jay-Z is guilty. What happened the day after Christmas is basically the judge is saying, we are not going to rush the process because you're famous. Right. Because you have demanded that we move forward. That we move faster, excuse me. And also, she denied the claim that the accuser, Jane Doe, has to reveal her identity. Mm-hmm. And so the case will go on as Jane Doe is allowed to contain her anonymity. Mm-hmm. And that was dismissed. Okay. Thoughts, questions, comments on that before we move forward?
But there's more that has happened since then, right?
Right. But do you have any thoughts on this before we go forward?
My only thought is you can't. I agree, for what it's worth, that you just because you're famous, just because you have power, just because you have wealth, whatever, doesn't mean that you you just get to jerk the system.
Okay.
I yes, I'm aware that to possess those things means that there is a privilege that is probably afforded to you, or there are privileges that are probably afforded to you that aren't afforded to the average person. But I think these claims are serious, and they should be investigated thoroughly.
Okay.
I think that it's too easy for us to make a judgment call on what happens with these situations or what happened in these situations without really having a lot of facts. It's not our fault as the public that we don't have all the facts.
All right.
We're never going to have all of the information when it comes to things that typically happen in the dark. And that's just an unfortunate reality and a casualty to the thing. Like it's not there's nothing we can do about that. But I do think what is owed is to at least investigate it and figure out what really happened or what is really happening as it stands. Just because you are Jay-Z or make the long list of powerful men and women who have been involved in things like this doesn't mean that you're exempt from the process. It also doesn't mean that you can railroad the person who is accusing you. That's not how the justice system works. So I think it's perfectly fine that the judge wants to continue to kick the can on this, and at least you don't want to be the judge who made the wrong call either.
Okay.
I think you would rather be the judge who was thorough and saw it through, assuming it doesn't waste everybody's time. But you would want to see it through, because if this is real, if the accusations are real, it doesn't matter what BuzzFeed does or didn't do or whatever. What matters is that there is a real victim here. So that's what I think about this. I feel like see it through.
Okay.
I don't agree with just shutting it down because Jay-Z said so or because Jay-Z's lawyer said so. Okay. And I do realize that there are inconsistencies in this person's story. If this person's story is accurate, like I shouldn't use the word accurate. If this person's story is correct in that this really happened, I don't know how old the person is right now, but they were also
they're our age. 13 and 2000.
So they're alleging that they were 13 at the time. I can see an argument from that side where that person was 13 and the details at 30 something could be fuzzy. It doesn't strengthen their case in any way, and I'm not saying that it does, but I'm just saying that I understand how from being a 13-year-old to now and then having to recall every detail that happened may not always be accurate.
Got it. I respect the judge's decision in basically saying you're not going to get special treatment. Mm-hmm. I can respect that. I have mixed feelings on Jane Doe remaining Jane Doe. Okay. You're supposed to be able to face your accuser. And so if you don't know who your accuser is, that becomes tricky. I understand this is not a criminal case, and so that may change things. Right. But saying Jane Doe can remain Jane Doe, I have mixed feelings on. I understand the one side where, yes, it's easier for this person to be revealed and then be ridiculed and, all of these different things happen to them, either in the court of public opinion or just, threats and things like that, doxing, things like that. I understand that side. But I also understand the side of you're supposed to be able to face your accuser. So I see both sides, and that's why I have mixed feelings. Again, this is not a criminal case, so the whole facing your accuser thing is a little different. And sure, eventually, I guess they will have to face their accuser if this goes to trial.
Right.
I just have mixed feelings on it. It doesn't really matter because what's done is done. But just speaking about my thoughts, I have mixed feelings on it. I could see multiple sides. And so today is December 31st when we're recording this. And I'm going to keep saying those type of things in these videos because people want to be in our comments saying like, oh, but y'all don't have the latest information. Those clips were not recorded the day that they are posted. And so if you're not able to figure that out or if you're not listening enough, then that's your fault. But I want to make it clear that today is New Year's Eve, December 31st. And yesterday, there was another update to this case. Late yesterday, early today, however you want to look at it, another thing happened. And so this is from USA Today, but other places have also posted it as well. This is just the first place I saw it. So it reads, Jay-Z's legal team takes new legal strategy, calls Jane Doe's assault complaint too old. So it says here, Alex Spiro, a lawyer for the rap mogul, filed a pre-motion letter Monday, yesterday, arguing that a recent lawsuit alleging Jay-Z R-worded a minor in 2000 could not proceed as is because the incident was too old. The complaint filed on behalf of Jane Doe against disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs in October and amended later to name Jay-Z uses the GMV, Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, which Spiro argued is not retroactive, meaning it cannot apply to incidents taking place before it was passed, since the law was not enacted until December of 2000. And the allegation, I'm changing the word because it says something else. The allegation took place 3 months before in September. To let it proceed would, quote, violate both state and federal due process protections, he writes. Additionally, Spiro argues the use of the CVA, Child Victims Act, is illegitimate since the incident also lies outside of both the original window and the revival periods for that law. Layered on top of the statute of limitations is an argument by Spiro that the GMV requires an accuser to show the assault happened within New York City, using details from Jane Doe's complaint that she was driven 20 minutes from Radio City Music Hall to an estate with a U-shaped driveway. Spiro asserts the incident could not have taken place within the 5 boroughs. So they're basically trying to get the whole thing thrown out now because of what I just read. It says Spiro's argument is just the latest in an ongoing attempt by Jay-Z's team to have the case dropped. That's it. So that is what happened just yesterday at the time of recording this. I'm going to put this down. I don't think I need to say.
Well, what do you think about it?
It's a weird situation. I totally understand. When you're dealing with something legal, the specificity matters. The things that a lot of times we view as semantics matter a lot more in something like court because they change the way the case can go, right? And so, sometimes those small details make a big change. So saying that, hey, this happened before this law, hey, this happened outside of New York City, yeah. Does it change the conversation? Is it possible that this will get the case dismissed? Yeah, it is possible. But it also doesn't look great in the court of public opinion because it looks like y'all are doing weird stuff. If it's not true, just let it be proven that it's not true. Filing all of these motions and things, and now changing your strategy on top of the whole like you're not friends with Diddy thing or whatever it is, it just seems like a lot of weird stuff is starting to happen. And I don't know how that will be perceived by others. To me, it looks like they're trying to do whatever they have to do to get this dismissed. And it's like, okay, you said no to this. All right, well then let's go to this. And it seems like they have a smart way of looking at things. I mean, Alex Barrow's a big lawyer. It's not like he's some Joe Schmo. So I expect them to do that. But it's just an interesting situation, in my opinion, because they're breaking down everything as much as possible, right? They're trying to prove that this is not true. And that part is fine for me. But once you start getting into like, it didn't happen in New York City, even if it did happen, it couldn't be you couldn't use this law because that law wasn't passed. That stuff both of those things could be true, but it doesn't look good that that's now where you're going, in my opinion. So again, I see both sides. I see on one side where I have a legal client. I'm going to use the law to the best of my ability to get this dismissed. But I also see the other side where it's like, that looks kind of weird. Yeah. So again, I have mixed feelings. Those are valid points. If that is that U-shaped driveway thing, probably not New York City. That's true. If this law and the way it works, those things are not allowed, then sure, I guess you can't use it in this case. I just think you're getting into really muddy waters at this point.
Yeah. But I guess my question is, so they're not considering, I think this is an off-pod question, but so if I'm understanding correctly, they're specifically speaking about Manhattan?
New York City.
Because New York City could be any of the 5 boroughs.
Right.
And because I know off pod, we had listened to
Breakfast
Club. And they were saying that 20 minutes away, there are no houses. But I guess my question is that totally true? Because there are houses in other boroughs. There just may not be houses in Manhattan, but there are houses in all of the other boroughs. So depending on where you are,
well,
now
they're looking at Radio City Music.
They're talking about Radio City. I don't know. I'm not trying to make an argument for them. I'm just trying to process it in my mind, because when people say New York City, I know to a lot of people outside of New York City means Manhattan. But when people say New York City, to me, New York City is the 5 boroughs.
Yeah,
it's not just Manhattan. So there are, and the island of Manhattan might not have actual home structures, but all of the surrounding boroughs do.
Right, but they're also talking about, you're right, they're using her words against her. They're saying it was a white house. So if you remember, it was a white house with a U-shaped driveway. And they're saying nothing in the 5 boroughs fits that. In the Breakfast Club video, they were saying that
it could be New Jersey.
It could be New Jersey. They went into like what homes did he own at that time and right before that. None of them fit that description that were in New York, and everything else was in Jersey. That's what the Breakfast Club video was saying, that Spiro and Jay-Z's team said at the Rock Nation media event, I guess is the best way to say it.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking questions because I'm trying to understand what's happening. And that's where I'm at with it. Like, I'm just trying to understand what's going on. This feels very much like, I don't normally use the term gaslighting, but this to me feels like on the Jay-Z and his lawyer side, there's a lot of gaslighting going on, and it seems like on the other side of it, there's discrepancies about what is going on. Like there's mixed information that is not completely making sense. I think both sides seem to be flawed.
Okay.
And that's why I'm making that point, because to me, none of it, I can't make sense of any of it.
Why do you think Jay-Z's side is flawed?
Because like I said, I feel like this is a way to gaslight into, I'm not saying that Jay-Z did whatever he's being accused of, just so we're clear.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, I do think that the strategy here is diversion. The strategy here is to distract, and the strategy is to make it less about what he's being accused of and more about discrediting not only the lawyer, but also the accuser.
No, but that's part of how you do it in the legal eye.
I understand that. But we're in the public looking at this. So I get that these are legal tactics, and I'm not saying that legal tactics shouldn't be used, but I'm saying the way it comes across is like they're just trying to distract away from the real thing.
Why? I don't understand why you say that. What do you think? What do you think they're distracting from? Because this new thing says it couldn't have happened in New York, even if it did happen, based on her story.
Right, and there's a lot of even if it did happen sort of conversation starting now. So now you're saying even if it did. What does that mean? Did it happen? That's where I'm at. That's where, well, because now they've cast whatever I thought before or whatever confusion I had before. Now I am inclined to cast doubt regardless of anything that happened prior to this moment. Now I'm like, well, okay, so are y'all saying it happened, but y'all are trying to prove that it didn't happen within these parameters, so it's fine? Like, that's the way it's coming across. I hate these things, honestly. I just think they're so frustrating. I do. Because it's like you don't know, and we don't know, and then we have to interpret what they're saying and make sense of what they're saying and decide if they're telling the truth or not. And it's just, I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. I think, one, Spiro has said multiple times, my client didn't do it. We're trying to prove that he didn't do it. Two, I think when it comes to these type of allegations, what's wrong?
It's sliding.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I was like, is it moving? It's alive.
Yeah.
It's still moving.
It's gonna keep moving.
It's so weird. Spiro.
Yeah, I was done with Spiro. Two, I think because this is a he said, she said situation, taking what the person said and creating doubt is part of it, right? So it's no different than a murder trial in that sense, where it's like, oh, but we saw the guy walk into the store. It's like, but did you see that guy walk into the store, or did you see a guy walk into the store? Mm-hmm. Once you can create some confusion, it diminishes that person's
I get it.
testimony, credibility. And I think that's what a lot of this is about. Whether we agree or disagree, I'm just speaking about what the point of the strategy is. Mm-hmm. And so saying it couldn't have happened in New York is one way to discredit her, right? Us seeing the video of the interview where it had these different things that were inconsistent lowers her credibility, right? And so I think this, to me, it seems that the strategy is to not necessarily distract, but to say, we want to make sure that there's no way this goes the way they want it to go, because it's not true and it's not possible. I'm not saying that's my opinion. I'm saying that's what the strategy is showing me. So that's my response to what you said. I understand why you view it that way. I just think when it comes to legalities, all of those little things kind of matter. And remember, the whole thing, more so in a criminal trial, is reasonable doubt, right? And so it's like, if you can create doubt, you could win the case, right? And so I think they're kind of using that tactic here, even though this is not a criminal case.
Right, because it's my understanding that in a civil case, it just needs to be, I forget what the language is, but it just needs to be, like, it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt. It just has to, something like the most likely possibility.
Mhm.
It's something like that. I know that's not the exact language, but
Right. So if we make it look like this stuff is not possible, we win.
right.
Again, not saying my opinion is yay or nay. We've already discussed that in older videos. My opinion is the video didn't look good. The interview she did, it makes it look like she's lying. And we will see. If Jay-Z is guilty, then Jay-Z is guilty. I say forget the money. There should be a criminal trial. And you got to go if you got to go. Like, I think that's the same for all the people we are fans of. It doesn't change to me whether it's R. Kelly, Diddy, Jay-Z, a new person tomorrow. If you're guilty, you're guilty. But my thing is, so far from what we've seen, it's not looking good. And so these are the updates. I just thought we thought we should discuss them, especially because people seem to think our information is outdated, but they're actually just watching older videos.
Right.